often, I guess. Loving kindness.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
All the time.
Sometimes we're tickets.
Is it supposed to be also speaking on this? I even went online and Google one last week, yes. And he says, it's all in that app. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. Because I could always go Wednesday and Thursday. Usually Thursday. But I looked in my time. Oh, so I have to look at my. That's okay. What does that mean? You're doing it. You don't even know what that means. No, it's funny because I always want to say this, but I really had it put in my head.
Yeah, well, I guess yes.
One goes like Scrooge, he's like, it's so hard.
It's so hard.
Everybody put their palms together and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Keep your palms together. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming on this blustery day. Anybody here for the first time? What brings you here?
I'm a longtime reader, appreciator of Buddhism. I meditate and wanted to experience it more collectively and get more involved.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anybody who has come before want to share why they're here or what they hope to get out of the meditation today? So anyways, my name is Wayne. I'm a Dharma Bum. I started with mindfulness meditation probably 30 years ago or so, primarily as a therapeutic intervention to help anxiety and depression and those types of things, but strictly from a Western medical standpoint. I started coming to the Dharma Bum Temple about 8 years ago when it first moved here, and have been incorporating and moving more towards traditional Buddhist religion or practice, and certainly have been able to appreciate the benefits of both the Western aspects of it and the Eastern aspects. I've been teaching Dharma and meditation at the Metropolitan Correctional Center, the downtown prison, for the last 8 years. I also lead silent meditation here, which basically means ring the bell. So we're going to do a loving kindness meditation. Loving kindness or Metta in the Pali language is one of 4 foundational practices taught by the Buddha. They are loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. And they're taught with the purpose of achieving samadhi, which is one-pointed, concentrated awareness through which the powers of these evoked qualities arise, transfiguring the heart. But loving kindness can also be used as a necessary and skillful antidote to mind states like anger and ferocious rage that are sometimes very difficult to approach unless your practice is very well developed. So in an erect and dignified posture, you might scoot to the front of your seat or chair. Try to get comfortable, but it helps if the spine is straight. Feet are firmly planted on the floor, nice secure platform. Eyes can be either closed or slightly opened. Shoulders up, back, and down. And just bring your awareness to the sensations of the breath. And taking 3 deep breaths in slowly. And then settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. I'll Feeling the full duration of each in-breath and the full duration of each out-breath. Creating a stable platform of moment-to-moment awareness. Resting in the sensations of the breath. With nowhere to go, nothing to do, just entirely present with this in-breath and this out-breath. Each out-breath, a complete letting go of the past. Each in-breath, a new beginning. And now, picturing in your mind's eye someone who loves you or someone who loved you. Feeling the warm embrace of their love for you, just as you are, without having to be different, without having to do anything, just basking in the unconditional love of someone who loved you or loves you. Feeling the warmth of that love in your heart area, basking in their love. And if you find it difficult to conjure up an image of somebody, imagine somebody who loved you or could love you in that way. And that's equally powerful and equally beneficial. Imagine someone loving you unconditionally for who you are now, and perhaps always have been. Their love is for you. And now, if it feels right for you, if it feels comfortable, trying to be the source and the object of love, akin to the love of a mother for her child, where you are simultaneously both the mother and the child. Feeling the warmth of unconditional love accorded you. And sometimes it's helpful to repeat these phrases to yourself or hear them whispered by the wind or from the universe. May I be safe and protected and free from inner and outer harm. May I be happy and content. May I be healthy and whole to whatever degree possible. And may I have ease of well-being. Far from the dis-ease that often lies immediately below our psyche. Repeating these phrases to yourself, not like a mantra, but with deep feeling and emotion. Feeling each phrase. May I be safe and free from inner and outer harm. May I be happy and contented. May I be healthy and whole to whatever degree possible. And may I have ease of well-being. Recognizing that your love cannot be kind or compassionate if it does not also include yourself. You are as deserving of love and kindness as any other being. But this love doesn't have to be limited to yourself, because loving kindness is infinite. So try experimenting with expanding the field of loving kindness from your heart and your body to other people. It helps to start with someone who you feel a connection with, someone you're close to, a partner, a cherished friend or neighbor, a sibling. And try sending love and kindness radiating out from your heart to to that person. May he, she, or they be safe and protected and free from inner and outer harm. May he, she, or they be happy and contented. May he, she, or they be healthy and whole to whatever degree possible. And may he, she, or they have ease of well-being. May he, she, or they be safe and protected and free from inner and outer harm. May he, she, or they be happy and contented. May he, she, or they be healthy and whole to whatever degree possible. And may he, she, or they have ease of well-being. And now, if it's comfortable for you, if it feels right, try extending the field of loving kindness to people that you know casually, maybe an attendant in a store or in a coffee shop, maybe someone you've seen in passing at work. And extending this warm, radiant field of loving kindness to them. May he, she, or they be safe and protected and free from inner and outer harm. May he, she, or they be happy and contented. May he, she, or they be healthy and whole to whatever degree possible. And may he, she, or they have ease of well-being. And now, if it feels comfortable, extending the field of loving kindness to someone who you may perceive as more of an adversary, someone you perceive may have harmed you in some way. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're being asked to forgive them for whatever came between you. Just recognizing that they too are human, that they too wish to be safe and happy. And extending this field of loving kindness to them. May he, she, or they be safe and protected and free from inner and outer harm. May he, she, or they be happy and contented. May he, she, or they be healthy and whole to whatever degree possible. And may he, she, or they have ease of well-being. Since your own capacity for loving kindness is limited, unlimited, you can experiment with sending loving kindness to people in your neighborhood, to people in the country, to people on the whole planet, to plants, to animals, the entire universe. May all beings in all directions be safe and protected and free from inner and outer harm. May all beings in all directions be happy and contented. May all beings in all directions be healthy and whole to whatever degree possible. And may all beings in all directions have ease of well-being. So at this point, I'd like to kind of open it up to questions, loving kindness, Buddhist practice, meditation practice, anything that people are sitting with.
I'll just share if you don't mind.
I'd love to.
You guys and Ben. Something I've noticed a lot about this practice is that it helps me a lot with self-compassion. I kind of get that practice of like seeing myself as someone also worthy of love, and then extrapolating out to people that I might not even like in the latter part of the exercise, that it all kind of circles back to just like if we are love, we are that embodiment itself, and like it makes it a lot easier for me to realize that and internalize that in my own life by doing stuff like this.
Thank you. Does anybody find it difficult to start with self-love? It can be hard, can't it? Some of the things that help, some of the things that have helped me, and again, I'm a practitioner. I'm not a guru or a monk, but some of the things that have helped me is visualizing myself as a young child. Okay. And as a young child, I'm deserving of love and kindness and compassion. And so I've, formed this image of myself at different stages of life. And that young child, me, is really capable. Is deserving of love, and it's a place you can start. Another thing that's helped me is to look at some of my personal weaknesses and frailties and show love to that shy, frail person. And those have been good places to start. And then, recognizing that, we're created out of the same universe and are no more or less deserving of loving kindness than anyone else. Sometimes the Buddha will use the term tuning your instrument before you play it out in the world. And so offering yourself loving kindness is tuning that instrument. So those of you who, I've trying to play the guitar, and unless you practice, what you play out in the world is pretty awful. But practicing loving kindness towards yourself is tuning your personal instrument, so then you can play it out into the world, and then you can be loving and kind to other people out in the world.
It's maybe a broad question, but like, what is the Buddhist concept of self?
It is a broad concept, and I'll take a stab at it. So in some, some Buddhist lineages and Buddhist practice, it's forbidden to teach non-self to beginners. I don't necessarily believe that, and so I'm going to have a stab at non-self. So first of all, the first thing that the Buddha taught was the Four Noble Truths, okay? And people know the Four Noble Truths. The truth of suffering, okay? A human life, there's going to be suffering. The causes of suffering, greed, anger, and ignorance. Cessation of suffering is possible, and the Eightfold Noble Path. So, suffering. The number one reason that we suffer is because we construct a self. We construct a thought or image of who we are, and we defend that. And when people say things that offends that self that we have constructed, we suffer. So the number one cause of suffering is our construction of a self, and then defending that self against other people. So that self, first of all, in Buddhist terms, it's inaccurate, okay? In Buddhist terms, there is no self because the self is constantly changing. And again, if I get too far into the weeds, let me know. But human beings are, there are the five skandhas of which we're all created: form, feeling, consciousness, volition. And each one of those is changing. So we are constantly changing. And so any thought of a permanent self is inconsistent with Buddha Dharma, where everything is constantly changing. The other thing is our construction of what we think is our self is wrong. The example that I sometimes give, I somehow found myself in a situation when I was 40 of having to go back out on the dating scene, okay? Which is a very scary thing for somebody who hadn't been there for quite a while. But when you're out on the dating scene, you create, this story, okay? This is who I am. This is what I do. This is who I am. This is what I've been through. And then the other person creates a story. Well, those are just stories that we call ourselves, but they're not real. So I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
So non-self in Buddhist teaching doesn't mean that we don't exist. We exist. We just exist differently than what we think, because, people who are looking at me, and I give my little story of who myself is to this person sitting across the table, and, their perception is going to be really different than my perception of myself, as is everybody's perception. So it's not a real thing. It's a fabrication. And it's a fabrication that's constantly changing, because the Wayne self that walked in here is going to be different than the Wayne self that walked out of here, because I've had input from people. You've told me things to think about. My brain has changed. So all of a sudden, that immutable self has changed. But it's a great question, and it's a real misunderstood area of Buddhism, because constantly say, non-self. But so that's my first stab at it. Yes, sir.
So this week, I had trouble again with just a very simple phrase, may you be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So may you be safe, may you be.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And even thinking of someone that I really care about, a very good friend back east, I was like, well, what does this mean? Like, I was getting perhaps in my head too much about it, but I was having trouble going like, am I giving them something?
Mm-hmm.
Am I just like opening to the idea of them being okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I supposed to be like God, like floating around them, like giving them things? Like, what is this? I was having trouble, like, I don't know. And last week, someone else was having trouble with the thought in a different way. And my mind last week immediately went to like, oh, this is easy. You're just kind of opening yourself up to the pain of the world, understanding that everyone has suffering and that you just want the best for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like somehow it seemed like more clear to me last week. And then this week I was like, what does may you be mean? Like I just kept getting hung up.
It's right. And I think that's an excellent point, an excellent thing to bring up. And it leads me into, something that we really need to understand with these phrases. And what you don't want to get hung up on the words. You want to experience the feeling of safety. Okay, so may you experience the feeling of safety. Okay, the feeling of happiness. So it's the emotion, the raw emotion that you're wishing that person feels. So you're wishing that they feel the emotion of safety in that moment, that they feel happy and content. And it's better if you even get rid of the words and just use that emotion, the feeling of that emotion, which is what you're trying to get. And that's what, I sort of like transfigures your heart, the raw feeling and the emotion. And we get hung up on the words. And, a lot of people, in Buddhism, sometimes we do mantras to be able to, keep our mind, focused and let our mind be in the room as opposed to out here. And mantras are a nice thing to help you focus your mind. But in this loving kindness meditation, we don't want to repeat something just to repeat it. Okay? We want to feel the actual emotion of the phrase. Does that?
Just a follow-up question on that. So is this loving kindness meditation, is the purpose of it for ourselves or for others? Like, does the Buddhist tradition believe that by sending good intentions toward that individual, that they will actually receive, for lack of a better term, like a blessing? Or is it more of like a way of feeling that for ourselves so that then we can go and be like a kinder person than everybody else because we're feeling better about ourselves?
Right. Buddhist practice is primarily to focus on yourself first. In the Theravada tradition, which is the more old school traditional Buddhism that's taught in Ceylon and Cambodia and Vietnam, not Vietnam, Thailand, and Laos. That's as far as a lot of the monks go, is they feel that the entire purpose of their existence is to better themselves and be more loving and kind. In the Mahayana tradition, which includes Zen and in China and Zen in Japan, and Pure Land, which is an offshoot of that. The purpose is to tune your instrument so that you can play it out in the world. And I think, the Dharma Bum Temple leans towards that practice. Thich Nhat Hanh, who was actually a Zen practitioner in Vietnam, that's what his lineage is. But before you can be of any use to anybody else, you have to take care of yourself and figure yourself out and figure the causes for your suffering, so that when you do go out, you're going out and from a point of kindness and compassion and not anger. I think different people would have different things to say as to whether or not you're giving them a blessing. It's a powerful tool for conditioning your mind so that maybe the next time you meet that person, your default mechanism will be tilted a little bit more towards loving kindness. In my, rudimentary understanding, it's not similar to the, giving a blessing or praying for somebody to make something happen for that person. Because we don't really know, we don't have the wisdom to know what the right thing is for that person. So again, yes, sir.
I was just going to pick up on what you said, what these two folks said. Probably the most powerful book that I read this year was Thich Nhat Hanh's book, The Energy of Prayer, which is fairly small, and maybe the second half of it wasn't that great. But I think there was just this sense that, like these two questions seemed to pick up on, like, is this just something happening in my head, or is it happening in the world? And Thich Nhat Hanh's very clear, as you alluded to, that if you've got the right compassion and mindfulness, that you are reaching out into the world. And the way he describes it is quite weird, and I kind of just went with it without really thinking, but he says, like, when this happens, you're entering a realm beyond like time and space. So it's not as if the energy of your prayer takes like 5 seconds to get from here to London. It's like an immediate thing.
Yeah.
So there's this kind of quite fascinating kind of mystical element. But from my point of view, I found that picture of the world was very inspiring for my Metta practice, which I suppose I see as a quasi-prayerful practice. We are sometimes trying to sort of wish things to others, and his idea is that if you've got your attitude right, that there is this way in which we do reach out into the world. And, I just found that the most kind of powerful thing that I read this year, because I think my Buddhist practice has always largely been a thing that happens in my own head, and if I sort of meet someone with an open heart, so much the better. But I found that picture was very inspiring, because it made the world feel far more open and expansive than I did before I read that book.
Yeah. Tilting the matrix of the universe just a little bit more towards kindness is that kind of butterfly effect. And Thich Nhat Hanh, in my mind, in my humble mind, was as close to a bodhisattva on earth as I've read or been exposed to. I've watched, I haven't had the pleasure of seeing him in person, but I've watched a lot of his teachings, and just the love and the equanimity and the compassion. I mean, you just feel it. And he has a way of being able to reach people here in the West. Having, grown up near the end of the Vietnam War era, Thich Nhat Hanh decided to come to America because he wanted to end the war and wanted to end the suffering of his people. And he said that unless he came to America, that was the epicenter, really, of the war. And so, he worked with Martin Luther King and helped Martin Luther King's, solidify Martin Luther King's idea of what was going on in the war. But he always did it, with love and compassion and kindness. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Let me look and see if there are any. Okay, we have a very good question. How do I cultivate metta when I feel that no one has ever loved me, though I try to give love to others? That's a tough one. And so I think you start by feeling what to the best of your ability, what it would be like to be loved. Okay, it's a difficult thing, and sometimes we get to this standoff where, in a relationship, I'm going to wait for somebody to love me before I'm going to love them. Okay, so if you've got this, I'm not going to love somebody else until they love me, or I'm going to wait for somebody to love me, you're automatically ceding control to that person for how you're going to feel, right? So the proactive thing to do from a Buddhist metta standpoint is just to offer love and kindness to that person, to just do it and not expect anything in return. And in offering that love and kindness to somebody else, you will feel better. Okay? You just will. It's human nature. And so you start by just offering love and kindness to other people without expecting anything in return. And you just keep doing it, as hard as that is. And you may eventually find out that it comes back. You may not. But you do it anyways. And then there's somebody else who kindly wrote, I will send you love and kindness to the person who, and it says, it always starts somewhere, and perhaps just the love you show yourself can be enough to start spreading out. But it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. But if you're going to start somewhere, you start trying to show love to yourself. And then you show love to other people, but you show that love without expecting anything in return.
So it's interesting. It's very close to a question I was going to ask as well, because the loving kindness meditations always seem to have tiers, right? So yourself, and then a loved one, and then a neutral person, and then maybe someone difficult, and then the world.
Yeah.
I noticed that I encountered different resistances as we're doing each one in different ways. Would you I guess it is, I'm asking for advice, but if you're encountering resistance in one of these layers,
Mhm.
is it better to stay with that? Just stay there? Or is that an indicator of, oh, maybe I'm not loving myself enough first. Let me come back a few steps, fortify this, then try to bring that out again.
What John Kabat-Zinn, he's actually a molecular and cellular biologist, and basically started mindfulness-based stress reduction here 40-odd years ago. His philosophy, if you read a lot about him, you can tell that he's very Buddhist. He would say, and I would agree, that if you're meeting resistance, just go back to offering love and compassion and kindness to yourself. Don't judge yourself. Don't be harsh with yourself. Just go back to what's comfortable. And then when and if you feel it's comfortable, you can move on and do something, offer love and kindness to somebody that you feel uncomfortable with. That's not an easy step. And basically, some people will do loving kindness for years just to themselves before they're comfortable going out. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it kind of brings to mind the concept of non-attachment versus detachment. Like non-attachment, at least in my understanding, is letting go of the outcome.
Yep.
Right. So like not placing my self-esteem or my self-worth based on what I think other people think of me.
Yep. Yeah, that, non-attachment is another one of those, Buddhist things like non-self that's really misunderstood. And I think we kind of talked a little bit about it when we said, just offer loving kindness to someone without expecting anything, without expecting a specific result or outcome. Because if you get attached to the outcome and you say, well, gee, I'm going to offer loving kindness to that person, and then that person doesn't behave the way you want them to, then you've caused yourself suffering. You are attached to the outcome. Whereas non-attachment is just pure love. I'm going to love you no matter what. I don't care what you do. You may make the wrong decision or a decision that I think is wrong, but I'm going to love you anyways. So thank you for bringing that up. You'd hit on some pretty heavy Buddhist topics: non-self, non-attachment, talked about the Four Noble Truths, talked a little bit about impermanence. So other thoughts that people have? Yeah.
This is such a small note, but I use my dog a lot in loving kindness, because even if it's hard for me to generate self-compassion, when I get to that next step, I literally just think about my dog or how he views me, and it's like a little boost, and I can kind of pass it on to that next stage. It's just such an uncomplicated way to tap into loving kindness, I think.
That's a great comment, great tool, something that I'll probably use sometime. I'll probably plagiarize that, because sometimes it's easier to love a dog. Who doesn't love a dog, And what a great place to start, if you're having difficulty, start with that loving animal. That's non-attachment, because that dog's going to love you no matter what. Okay, that's true non-attachment love. The dog's going to love you. And it is a great place to start. What a great idea. Thanks. Other people have pets. Pretty cool thing, isn't it? Don't you think? Start with your pet. Other thoughts? Let me look and see if there are any other.
Sometimes go even more abstract and start with the sun.
Really?
Yeah, I put a little Metta scrapbook I made about a decade ago, and it's just got a picture of the sun for the cover, because it's like that idea: the sun shines on everyone. good or
Absolutely.
bad, right or wrong, etc.
Right.
You know, sometimes if the world of animals or humans seems a bit challenging with some, especially if you live in England where you don't see it very much, it feels like a blessing. So whenever it's out, I can often experience it as a source of love in a strange,
Yeah.
slightly abstract
Yeah.
sense.
There's a famous Zen saying, nothing left out. And the sun is a perfect example of it shines equally on everybody, indiscriminately. It doesn't choose, and it doesn't expect anything in return. So it goes along with that Buddhist, nothing left out. And it, we often get into the them and us and others. I won't get into that. I don't know we got time with it, but the fewer people that we can exclude, the happier we're going to be, and the happier and better the world is going to be. So nothing left out. Nothing left out of our practice, nothing left out of our love. Other thoughts, comments? Well, I really appreciate everybody's engagement and comments. Thank you so much. Makes it so much easier. I think my biggest nightmare is coming up here and saying, okay, does anybody have any questions? And then I gotta, because I can't sing and dance. I've told Erica before, I can't sing and dance. So it would be a long evening. So if everybody puts their palms together, please. May the benefits of everything that we talked about here be shared with all beings in all directions, especially those who need it most. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering.